short course on MATLAB programming earlier in 4 lectures. Now I will go into details of MATLAB programming. Those who are interested, they can attend these classes, or we can discuss about MATLAB programming from today in details. Today we will have a short discussion, just an introduction to what is computer system, how computer functions, that part, then an introduction to MATLAB programming. So today I have divided it into 2 lectures. Lecture 1 is slightly long, about 30 minutes, and lecture 2 is about 15 to 20 minutes. So let us start with the lecture 1, which is on MATLAB programming. What it is basically an introduction to computers. Now we know what is a computer system. In a computer system, it is a computing device. Basically, computer is a computing device in which we do 2 types of things, 2 types of computing. One is numerical computing. We play with numbers, we give some numbers, then generate some other numbers. That is one. And other is character computing or string computing or logical computing. That is, you give some characters or strings, then you generate new characters or strings. In between these 2 extremes, or with these 2 extremes, are there voice, which is audio. Audio can be processed, video can be processed, and there can be many other processing using the computer. So computer is a computing machine which processes data. Now with the computer, main processor or monitor that is connected to the computer. The computer has different components, input components and output components. So a computer system contains different components. The basic components are the monitor, in which we see what is being input or what is coming out as output. So that is what is seen in the monitor. Then to give input, we have 2 important components. One is the keyboard, in which we can give inputs through numbers 1 to 10 or 0 to 9, and through alphabets. Shift, if you press shift, then it will be capital, otherwise it is generally small letters or little letters. In the keyboard there is a key called caps lock. If you press caps lock once, then everything that you type is capital. If you repress it, then it will be little letters. Then you have other function like slash, question mark, etc. Plus, minus, equal to, greater than, less than, dot, star. So there are many other functions in the keyboard which you can use by holding down the shift and clicking on those methods. Admit now there are many devices which are connected to the computer. These devices are divided into 2 categories: input devices, through which computer receives data for processing, and output devices, through which computer gives data, processed data is coming out from the computer. As I told you, the basic input units are keyboard, and output unit is the monitor. Besides that, another input device is mouse, the computer mouse, through which you can scroll around the screen and put your data. Then output devices are many, like printer. Then you have speaker, in which you get audio output. Then you have modem, through which acts as a input output device through which you connect to the internet. So from internet you get data and you send data over internet, which is upload onto internet or download from the internet. Downloading is you are getting data, uploading is you are sending data over internet. That is modem, which is a data exchanging and sharing device. There can be many other devices like a camera. Camera is an input device through which you get video and pictures. Then a scanner, you can scan documents. So that is another input device. Then you have the system unit, which is the main unit or which is the computer. That contains the storage devices, or it has base for storage devices like CD drive, pen drive, for floppy. Nowadays people do not use floppy drives. Zip drives, those you do not use nowadays, but CD people are using, pen drive people are using, those base are there. Besides the main storage unit, which we call the hard disk. So those are there, and then you will have processor, memory is RAM, those things will be there. So a computer system comprises of all these things, or many of these things will be in the computer system. Now let us see, if we have all these things and we have assembled these input and output devices to the system unit, then we the system unit, or what a computer does. A computer basically processes information, and information processing involves 4 cycles in the computer. One is input, you have to gather data through input. Then it is processing, or what we say, we run the computer. Then output, which is after processing whatever data you get, new data, that is going out as output. Then that output or input both can be stored in the computer. If it is stored, then it will be collected for processing. If it is input data, if it is output data, then you can use it many times. Anytime you can access the storage and get the output data. So that is what is the functioning of a computer. Basically, it uses 4 cycles. Now I told you that information. What is the difference between data and information? Data is a collection of raw facts. For example, you want to add 2 numbers. So these 2 numbers are raw, 1 and 5 I want to add, and I want to get after processing is the addition. So 1 plus 5 is the processing, then I got 6. So if somebody asks you how many students are there in your class, raw data is number of girl students, number of boy students. These are raw data. You give them as input, they will be processed, which means you will add them, then you will get a information, which is the number of students. So raw data, that data is collection of raw facts. Similarly, figures, you can get some figure, then modify it. Symbols, these are consisting of numbers or words or images, video, sound clips or sound, etc. So all these in the raw form are called data, and processed form also, these are processed data. So raw data or processed data. And now what happens in the information stage? Once you have got raw data, in the information stage you have to organize those raw data. So that is organized data, which has some meaning, it gives some meaning, so meaningful, and these are useful. For example, these are created from raw data by manipulation using the computer. So computer manipulates the raw data, adds, subtracts, whatever it is, or some operations, it does some arithmetic operation or logical operation or string operations, then it gives you unorganized data it is organized. That is, information always comes out as output. Input is usually called data. Of course, input can be some information. In that case, that information is raw. That is accepted as a raw data, from which you get a processed data. Processed data is called the final information. And it is stored in the computer for future use. So you give, once the input is given, then you forget about the input because it will be processed and stored. So stored unit you can use number of times. So multiple use. Computer major advantage is one input but multiple uses, multiple outputs, multiple times output. One time multiple times output. That is a major advantage of computer. Now, why, if we know this, why the computer is useful, why you are using computer? There are various reasons. I will tell you few reasons. One is, the first reason is high speed information processing cycle. So normally if I ask you 5829 plus 3256, add them, you will take a few seconds to add these two numbers, whereas computer will do it in a split second. So it has very high speed information processing cycle. So that is why it is useful. Highly reliable. Computer is highly reliable. Failure rate is, so reliability is high. You can depend on what is coming out of the computer. That is why it is useful. Accuracy is very high. Usually human accuracy, it do not match the computer accuracy. So therefore it is useful. Storage capacity is high. You can store huge amount of data in computer. Nowadays, not only in computer, you can store it in cloud. Cloud means there are many computers at different places in which you are going to store your data through internet. And from that you are again getting the data. Cloud means it is storage devices of the computer connected to the computing system somehow through some means in the internet. So there is a networking. So there you store and from there you retrieve. That is what is cloud. Then the main strength is its communicating ability. So computers can communicate with computers, or computers can communicate with your mobile phones. Mobile phones can communicate with computers. So that is what is called machine-to-machine communication. So it has ability for machine-to-machine computer communication. For using computer, you can control a washing machine. You can control many other electronic gadgets. If you have some electronics in that, and if you can connect that to the computer somehow, then you can control it. So in that case, it is called machine-to-machine communication. One machine is communicating with the other machine and controlling it, or telling it what is to be done. That is called machine-to-machine communication. Then machine-to-human communication, that is, machine is doing something and that is being communicated to the human. For example, you are talking through mobile phone, or you are talking through computer. So you use right now what I am doing is I am speaking into the speaker, and speaker is connected to the computer, and that this computer is talking to you. You are listening to the computer, right? So I am speaking to the microphone and you are listening through the speaker. So computer is communicating to human through speaker. So machine to human communication. Similarly, human to machine communication, which is I am talking through microphone to the computer. Microphone is connected to the computer. I am talking to the machine. So these communications are possible. All these three types of communication are possible using computer. So these are some of the reasons for which people find computer to be very useful, and it has penetrated the market. Computer has penetrated market like nothing else. Like mobile phone, aeroplane, it took about 200 years to penetrate the market completely. Whereas mobile phone, in about 20 years, it penetrated the market. And you know, mobile phone is nothing but a computer. Nowadays, the smartphones are nothing but some sort of computer. Okay. Now, how it operates? What are the computer operations? Computer operates through two things: a computer program or software, that is the major thing that is required for operating the computer. This computer software or program that gives detailed list of instruction to the computer, to the CPU or to the system. A detailed list is given. If you have operating system, that gives a detailed list through which the computer will operate, and this list tells exactly what is to be done by the computer. Therefore, this list is executed by the computer. Computer follows this list, and this list is stored in the computer. So the computer stores a program, or computer stores a software which contains a list of instructions. Program and software, these are lists of instructions. These are stored in the computer. When you switch on the computer, depending on the requirement, like you are switching on. So booting, computer is set to be boot. It is sleeping, now it is waking up, so it is set to be boot. When it is booting, it will use the software, operating software, to boot. So that is why it will go to the software. Whatever instruction is in the software, those instructions will be carried out by the computer. Those will be executed by the computer. Then you write a program and ask the computer to execute the program. So whatever instruction is written in the program, those will be executed, and that execution will require the original operating software. Operating software will control everything. So this is about computer programs and software. Then what is the operation? Operation is actually program instructions. These program instructions are fetched from storage, wherever it is stored, as I told you. Then they are executed one after another in serial manner. So serially, so first line will be executed, then the next instruction, then the next instruction. So instruction number 1, 2, 3, 4, this way it will be executed by the computer. So this is how the computer operates. In general, this is the operating principle involved in the computer. Now let us see what happens, how it what is the computer architecture that allows us or allows the computer to operate in this manner. This computer architecture, as I told you, it has, in the beginning I told you, it has input units, it has output unit, and it has a system. In the system we have three categories, three parts. One is CPU. CPU is central processing unit, then the memory, then the storage. Memory is what you call RAM, and storage is what you call hard drive, CD, etc. Now what we do is, we give some input. That input goes to the memory of the computer. Now once it goes to the memory of the computer, depending on the requirement, the computer will and receive it back from the processing CPU and then send it to the output. That is one scenario. So you can see there is a arrow which is one way from input to the memory. It will not come back to the input. It comes to the memory, then it can go to CPU, back to the memory. Other scenario is, from the memory you give, from the memory it can go to the storage. Then when the computer is going to use that input, it will fetch it from the storage. So it will again come back to the memory. From memory it will go to CPU. From CPU it will come back to the memory. Then from the memory either it will go to the output, it will go to the storage. Then when we require the output, then it will come up from the storage, either from the storage via memory or from the CPU via memory. So if it is stored in the storage, from the storage it will come to the memory, then it will go to the output. Now you can see that the one-way path is from input to memory and memory to output, whereas there is a two-way path from memory to CPU and memory to storage. So this is the basic architecture of a computing system or a computer, or the system, that what we call system. So this is the basic architecture. I hope you understood this. Then we'll go to the computer software, which we discussed earlier. Now, computer software has two key productive uses. One is the operating system software, other is application software. All computers must have an operating system software. Operating system software tells the computer how it is going to operate, and the application software uses the applications. We will discuss them in some detail, little more detail from the next slide. In the next slide, we will discuss what happens in the operating system. The operating system the performances, and this performance basically is loading the data or getting the data into it, or which is input. So loading, then it can store, it goes to the storage, and the execution of the application. So these are the three basic controls. Now these three require data transfer from input to the memory, or from memory to storage, or from memory to the CPU, or from storage to the memory to the CPU, or from memory to the output. So data transfer is controlled based on the operating system or operating software. So operating software is a program which is written in such a manner that it will decide what is to be done, whether it is to take input, so it will take input to the memory, then it will decide whether it will go to the CPU or it will go to storage. Accordingly, it will send it to the CPU or to the storage. So this way the control is performed in the operating system. Then operating systems can have graphical user interface or non-graphical user interface, non-graphical interfaces. Graphically, you are mostly acquainted with the graphical user interface, which is called short GUI. G is for graphical, U for user, I for interface. So this can have, it is not mandatory, but it can have graphical user interface. Example is Windows. It is very friendly. You can see the icons on the computer. You can click on those icons. Then you can use those. Like you can click on Word, then you can write Word, your programming or your document in Word. You can click PPT, PowerPoint or presentation. You can write your presentation, prepare your presentation there. So everything is visible to you. What you want to see or what you want to do is visible on your computer screen. That is what is GUI. There are other systems like Unix, which is not using a graphical interface. Straight you will see the screen and the command prompt. Unix, Linux, DOS. Of course, nowadays Linux is also coming in GUI form. So we can use Linux in GUI form or graphical user interface form. DOS is the basic or backbone for Windows. Basically, you are using Windows in the back. Windows is actually connected to DOS. DOS stands for Disk Operating System. So this is a short description on what is operating system. Then I told you there are two softwares. One is operating system software, other is application software. This is a short digression on application software. GUI or function. There is a question on GUI. G is for graphical, U stands for user, I stands for interface, graphical user interface. Now you see on the screen, you will see graphics. Graphics means you are seeing short icons. Each icon is like a graphic, like a picture. Pictures are graph in the form of a graph. Graph, we understand usually in science from the school days, you understand it is between x and y. Alright, if it is in between x and y and you have many points, infinitely many points within a small area, that looks like an icon. What is your picture? Picture, your photo. Photo is a graph. If you look at the black and white photo, it is a graph. In the graph, there are points which are marked by the black dots and white dots, and they are so densely placed that you see it as a photo. So that is what is the icon. So you can see window icon on the icon on your screen. You can see word icon for word. You can see icon for your MatLab if you are using MatLab. So you can see many icons on the desktop. That is why so you, instead of writing MatLab, you straightway click the MatLab icon. Instead of writing word at the command prompt, you write or you click on the word prompt, automatically word will open. I'll show you an example later. So that is what is done in the graphical user interface. It is easier. User is the interface to the machine. Interfacing means user is connected to the machine. Interfacing is user will be connected to the machine. That is what is interfacing. So user is interfaced to the machine through graph or through graphics, and that is what is GUI. Now application software, these are a set of programs for producing information. So the first part, operating system is for controlling the machine or is for controlling the system, whereas application software are for producing information or processing information, the information which is produced which is given by as input by the user or information provided by the user. Now for example, you can do word processing like you are using Microsoft Word, electronic spreadsheet like Excel, database you can generate any data, keep it in a file, that is what is database. Presentation graphics, you can generate many graphics, show them as presentation in our PowerPoint. Different programming languages like C, C++, Fortran or MATLAB, all these are different types of languages. Then you can have programming environment, different programming environment which are basically supporting the programming language. If you have a C programming environment, then only it will support the C language. If you don't have that environment, it will not support C. You can write a program in C, but you cannot execute it unless you have the programming environment. Similarly, and the way we say that you loaded microwave onto your computer or onto your mobile phone, we ask that what is loaded. Loaded means you are getting the programming environment in your device. So you are installing the programming in your environment in your device. Once it is installed there, so you have established an environment for the programming, for that particular programming. Then you can use the programming, and then you can use that language, MATLAB or C, so that you can use after that. So before that you have to make or have the programming environment. So this is about application software. Now let us see what are different languages. Languages are basically a vocabulary for computer. Like we are discussing, we are talking using a particular vocabulary. We are from Odisha, we speak in Odia. People in North India, they speak in Hindi. People in South India, they speak in Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, etc. Similarly, worldwide people speak in English, people speak in Chinese, French. These are all vocabulary. and these vocabularies have a particular rule. For example, I am saying a sentence, I am going. So if I say this sentence, I am going, then it has I, which is a noun, am is a verb, going is a verb, so it has a noun and verb. These are arranged in a particular manner. If I say going, I am, it does not mean anything. I am going means it has some meaning, but going I am school, I am going to school, going I am school too, that does not understand anything. So it has a grammatical rule. Every vocabulary has a grammatical rule. So if the vocabulary that we use as per a grammatical rule or as per a syntax. So what will come after what, that is predefined. We have to understand that only if we use it in that particular syntax, then the other person will understand it. So if I am saying something to somebody, then I have to say in a language that he understands, or I have to use a vocabulary that the person understands, and I have to use the syntax or the grammatical rules so that he can understand those vocabulary. Otherwise it will become jargon. So that is what is programming language. In the programming language, computer has certain vocabularies like addition, subtraction. These are all computer vocabularies. The words that we are using, those are those things. From that you can generate other words like A is equal to 2. So you are generating a word A which is equal to 2 for computer. B is equal to 3. Then C is equal to A plus B. So that is what you are doing, right? So that is what is programming, and programming language is basically you are writing like this. Now there are different types of programming language. One is the computer. As you know, the computer is an electronic device. So if I say plus, in electronics there is nothing called plus, there is nothing called minus, nothing called multiplication, into, etc. There is nothing. In electronics, what we do is basically computer is designed based on digital electronics. In digital electronics, we have only two states. One is the 0 state or off state, and other is the on state or 1 state. So you are related to 0 off state, we have 0, related to on state we have 1. So it understands it contains electronic contains switches, which the switches can be either on or off. So basically the machine has many switches which can be on and off, and machine operates according to how many switches are on, or which switches are on, which switches are off. So machine understands only that on and off. Right? Therefore, in the hardware consists of switches. Computer hardware consists of switches. These switches can be either in either of the two states, off state or on state. So the machine understands this language, on or off. That is what is machine language. So whatever you are saying A is equal to 2, machine will not understand that. Machine will understand only on and off. So A is equal to 2 has to be given as on and off. That part I will discuss later. So a machine understands only on and off. That is the language of the machine. Therefore it is called machine language. Now machine language, the user do not understand machine language. Machine understands its own language. User understands its own language. So the user, whatever user is saying, is to be translated into the machine language. Now for example, suppose we are from Odisha and we want to go to France. We are talking to people in France. Now people in France is the computer. Odisha people are Odia. No, we are Odisha people. What will happen? How you will communicate with people on France? Either you should know French. If you don't know French, you have to find out some person who knows French. He is your translator. Now suppose you don't find out a person who knows French, but you have found out a person who knows English and you know English. So somehow you you know only Odia. The other person knows English and Odia. So you talk to him in Odia, he will translate it into English. He will find out somebody else who knows English and French. So he will talk to him in English. That person will translate it into French. Then the other last person will communicate with the French person. So this way, Odia, you are speaking in Odia, but France will understand that. Similarly, when he speaks that way in French, you will understand that through the translation. So between machine language and the language that you will use are interfaces like this: English person, French speaking person, English to French, and Odia to English. So those things. So that is what is called assembly language. So whatever is told by you is assembled by the assembly language. Then that assembly language that understands how to convert it into machine language, so it will be automatically converted to machine language. So above machine language there is above assembly language is there mid-level language or high-level language. High-level language has three categories nowadays. One is called the normal high-level language, under which comes Fortran, Pascal, Basic, etc. Other is called the mid-level language. Mid-level language is like a high-level language with some features of assembly language. So it is intermediate between assembly language and high-level language. That is what is C. C, C++, its variants are called #C. These are all Java, J2E. All these are mid-level language, like mid-level languages. So these are between high-level language and assembly level language. And there are application language like MatLab. Now all these languages, what they do, how they work. If you are using a high-level language, then you have to do two things. You will write your program, then that program is to be compiled, then it is to be interpreted. The compile means, or compilation of the program means, the computer will or the software operating system in the programming environment will control the programming environment. The programming environment will try to see whether the syntax is correct. Whatever you have written follows the syntax or the grammar for that operating language, right? Operating environment, or for that language environment. So if it is written correctly, syntax is correct, so it passes through compilation process, it passes through the first stage. So syntax is correct. After the syntax is correct, once it knows that it is correct, then it will run that. So this involves two stages. One is it translates the high level instructions directly into machine level language. That is one stage that can be done, or it can run faster than the interpreted language. Then what is interpretation? Interpretation is it translates high level instructions into an intermediate form for execution. So first you write the program, it will go through, then it will go through the syntax checking, syntax is correct, then it goes to after that you generate a .exe file, executable file, which will be executed. So that is the translation of high level instruction into an intermediate form of execution. For execution, then you generate the execution. This does not require the time consuming compilation stage to generate machine instruction. But in the compilation stage, if it is a compiler, it requires translation of high level instructions directly into machine language, but it takes more time. And this compiling process is basically used in this MATLAB, so it takes more time compared to C. for compilation, but writing is easier. There you save the time. Right. Okay. Now let us see four important words related to computer systems or computer operation. When you are going to use computer, you should know this. Data, you have already seen what is data, then algorithm, then command and program. Data is numeric or characters. This can be of two types. This is used to perform instructions. And then algorithm, these are structured pre-specified steps. Before you write the program, you write down the steps through which you will write the program. So these are structured in structured way. After first I will do this, then I will do this. My program first will do that. This, then this, then this. So that is what is algorithm. So this helps in writing the actual program. This is a roadmap for transforming a problem-solving process into program because you write the algorithm in a stepwise manner. Then you go to command or set of commands in the computer. These are instructions to perform certain actions. So if you say cd in the computer, it is cd stands for change directory. It will change the directory. The directory name that you will give, it will change the directory. Or you can write in the MATLAB a is equal to 3 plus 2. So you have given a command that you add 3 and 2 and store that in the position A. So it will write a is equal to 5. So it has stored in position A 5, adding 3 and 2. Then program. Program is a commands or set of instructions written with a syntax which is proper to the programming language. So with this, we'll stop for the first lecture. We'll take a break of 2-3 minutes. Then we'll come back and start the second lecture, which is a simple introduction to MATLAB programming. I have given you MATLAB programming instruction earlier, so we'll come back here and do that once more. We'll stop for today.
Sir,
कुह
sir, C level ମାନେ mid level कहूଛି ନା high level ମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ଗୋଟେ ଜାଗାରେ high level ବି ଲେଖା ହଉଛି.
C basically a mid level language. It's not a high level language. Fortran, Basic, Pascal, COBOL, these are high level language. C is mid level. So बहुत जगह